All right, we're now going to complete section 7.5. We're on Check Your Understanding 3B from page 582. So the first thing I want to do is put brackets all around my numerators and denominators. So I started doing that, and then as well, the first thing I wanted, kind of as I'm doing that, after I do that, I want to see if I can factor my numerators or denominators. And the ones I have brackets around right now, they can't be factored. The only one that might have a potential is 11x plus 32. And in order to factor that, I would need to find a number that divides both 11 and 32. But there isn't one, so that won't factor. But I know um, x squared plus 10x plus 24 will factor into, so we have x plus and x plus. So I need two numbers that multiply to 24 and add to 10. So those numbers are 6 and 4. So I'm going to rewrite my equation with my new denominator and some brackets. So I have x plus 1 over x plus 6. So that's plus x minus 2, x plus 4, and it's equal to 11x plus 32. And then my new denominator is x plus 6, x plus 4. So I want to find my non-permissible values. So that's when any of my denominators are 0. So when x plus 6 equals 0, which is not allowed, x can't be negative 6. And then when x plus 4 is equal to 0, that's a non-permissible value. So x can't be negative 4. And then looking at my other denominator there, I have x plus 6, x plus 4, which I've already dealt with. So right now we know if we get an answer of x is equal to negative 6 or negative 4, those would be extraneous roots. So our lowest common denominator, so I'm going to write down every factor in all my denominators. So if x plus 6, x plus 4 from my first two, from here and here. And then I already have x plus 6, x plus 4. There's no greater powers, so that is my lowest common denominator. So my next step is I want to multiply everything by that lowest common denominator. And this is going to become a super long question. Well, super wide across the board, I should say. So I have x plus 1 over x plus 6. I'm going to multiply that by my lowest common denominator, which is x plus 6, x plus 4. Then I'm going to add my next rational expression. So it's x minus 2 over x plus 4. And then I got to multiply that by my lowest common denominator. Okay, so that whole thing is equal to 11x plus 32 over x plus 6, x plus 4. And I got to multiply that by my lowest common denominator. Ooh, will it fit? Okay. Woo, it just barely fit on the board. So then I'm going to cross off factors that appear in the numerators and denominators of each term. So bye-bye x plus 6 is there, bye-bye x plus 4 is here, and then I get rid of my x plus 6 and my x plus 4 there. Okay, so I'm going to do every little step here, so I'm going to rewrite this to see what I'm left with. So if x plus 1 and x plus 4 in my first term, then I have x minus 2, x plus 6 left over there, and it's equal to, and my leftovers here are 11x plus 32. So there's no fancy shortcut. I actually need to FOIL out my x plus 1 and my x plus 4, and then my x minus 2 and x plus 6. So let's do that. So I get x times x is x squared, x times 4 is 4x, 1 times x is 1x, 1 times 4 is 4, plus x times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, negative 2 times 6 is negative 12, and that's equal to 11x plus 32. Okay, because I have x squareds, I'm just gonna move everything over to the other side. So I'm gonna subtract 11x from both sides, and then subtract 32 from both sides. So those go away. Okay, so now I'm going to combine like terms. So I have an x squared here and an x squared here to have 2x squared. And then I have a plus 4x, a plus 1x, a plus 6x, a minus 2x, and a minus 11x. Okay, so 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 6 is 11, minus 11 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. Oops, there's a square there. And I'm just going to double check this. Okay, that's what I have. And then I have 4 minus 12, which is negative 8, minus 32, which is minus 40, and this is equal to 0. Just to make factoring a little easier, I notice 2 divides everything, divides my 2x squared, my negative 2x, my negative 40, so I'm just going to factor 2 out. So I get x squared, and then 1x, and then 20. Okay, and now I'm going to factor the x squared minus 1x minus 20. So I'm going to have x and x. Minus goes in here. What times a minus makes a minus, which is a plus. So two numbers that multiply to 20, those same two numbers subtract to 1. So they are 5 and 4. So 5 goes in the first bracket, 4 goes in the second one. Let's fill some of that in. Okay, so our answers would be x minus 5 is equal to 0, or x plus 4 is equal to 0. So what that gives us is x would be equal to 5, and then x would be equal to negative 4. So before I put a box around that to say this is the answer, I need to check my non-permissible values again. So my non-permissible values, I can't have x is negative 6 or negative 4. So this one's gone. So that means my answer is x is equal to 5. Okay, so here are the questions I'd like you to try. So this is page 583. And then your questions are 5A, 6A, 7C, and 9A. Yep. So that is your assignment. All right, have a good day.